In a state known for beautiful peaks, we're headed for an ugly one. On track for COVID hospitalizations higher than the worst of what we saw pre-vaccine. Follow the science, the governor said. We'll ask why he's defying the scientific consensus to open up boosters to more Coloradans. The worker shortage has Denver making some trashy decisions, namely cutting back on when waste collection trucks will make the rounds. We'll take you to a place where uncomfortable conversation is the whole point. And as veterans work to build a spot for each other and for the whole community, we'll ask them a question. Can Next viewers help you out with that? Don't just watch. Let's be part of making some good happen. This is Next. Follow the science. That has been the motto of people calling for public health restrictions. In fact, Democratic Governor Jared Polis has used those precise words, and Colorado has followed the science, except for when it hasn't. Polis is planning an executive order formalizing Colorado's break from the science and using a loophole in federal guidelines to allow booster vaccinations for all adults in Colorado. That is not the current scientific recommendation based on the studies seen by the CDC and FDA. We asked the governor about that today.
Frankly, we feel that the CDC and the FDA bungled the messaging on the booster. They made it very complicated. The basic message is if it's been 6 months after Moderna or Pfizer, you should get it. If it's been 2 months after J&J, you should get it. The way that we're able to make that official from the state perspective, it's been sort of the unofficial policy of the state from the beginning in terms of not turning anybody down and self-attestation, is we're going to be issuing an executive order soon that really says that Colorado is a high-risk institution. And everyone is eligible in Colorado on the argument that you are part of a high-risk environment.
If you couldn't see, the governor was in the teeny little box off to the side during that presentation. I understand it makes for terrible television. So what the state is telling people to do is when the booster form asks you if you live in a high-risk institution, check yes. The state of Colorado, the whole state, is your high-risk institution. Colorado's public health leader said today that we are currently headed for COVID hospitalization levels higher than anything we've seen at any time in the pandemic. Peak next month could be hundreds of patients higher than the worst pre-vaccine wave. Hospitalizations ticked up just a little bit today. 5 more COVID patients in our hospitals, and yesterday we're up 151 patients from this time last week. The positivity rate suggests that we are in for weeks more of climbing numbers. Our 7-day average is just short of 10%, which we haven't seen since the wave of last December. Contact tracing feels like a strategy we talked about last year, when you had to isolate prior to vaccines. Well, there are contact tracers still at it today, and they told our Steve Steger the wave of cases, primarily among the unvaccinated now, has them as busy as ever.
Here's how I spent part of my reporting day today, in line at Centennial's Community Testing Center, getting the tickle that so many of us have become accustomed to. I had a COVID exposure this week, one I learned about on my own, not through a contact tracer. It made me wonder if they are still at it, with vaccinations changing the game.
Unfortunately, vaccination has not taken care of the need for contact tracing.
So I asked my health department, Tri-County Health.
We're still attempting to reach out to everyone to do case investigation and contact tracing.
That's Jennifer Chase, an epidemiologist who leads Tri-County's contact tracing effort, which she says hasn't stopped, partially because so many people haven't been vaccinated.
We have shortened our investigation window, meaning we can't reach out to every single individual by phone because there are so many cases.
This intense wave of cases reminds her of last fall when they just couldn't keep up.
We're reaching out to people that are in high-risk situations.
While all of that remains the same, so much has changed. It's getting harder to investigate cases because we aren't as locked up as we used to be.
People are getting out and going out to restaurants and seeing friends.
The age of short staffing is also impacting contact tracers.
Attrition in this work is pretty high. People get burned out pretty quickly with this level of work and investigation.
And those at-home tests have also changed the game, since a lot of times people aren't reporting their positive results. Bottom line, contact tracers are still out there, but when cases are this high, the work gets tougher to do.
The contact tracing is a bit more challenging now than it was in the beginning of the pandemic.
For Next, I'm Steve Stager.
Stager got that brain tickle today. Health departments are hearing from people who are confused after they test positive with an at-home test, not sure what to do next, especially if they're vaccinated. So this is a reminder that the state has a website where you can enter your results and your situation, get instructions about how long they recommend you quarantine. And if you're curious, you're always just welcome to call your county health department for advice. All Denver public school students are going to get the day after Thanksgiving off because of the district's trouble in finding substitute teachers. The pool of subs is a third of its normal volume. So DPS today is spinning this as a chance for families to go take their kids to get vaccinated. Yes, it's also obviously a burden on families to find childcare for that day, a burden which disproportionately impacts lower wage workers without as much flexibility at work.
That's why the decisions have been so few and far in between and remote, no pun intended. However, we do have the means of support, whether it's Discovery Link, our Boys and Girl Partners, and our ELKS program, in which students can be part of in-person activity, right? So perhaps that's something that we can explore if and when we have future operational closures. But again, I want to make sure everybody understands that those will be the last case resort, and we do not anticipate it being a commonality in DPS.
If you don't recognize that new face, that's DPS's new superintendent, Dr. Alex Marrero. He straight up said today that the sub shortage is not caused by vaccine requirements. He says what they're seeing that's different now is an issue of teacher burnout that's leading to more teacher absences. The city of Denver can't find enough trash truck drivers, so the city's cutting back on the number of days with regular trash pickups next year. The city has 131 of those driver positions, and 30 are currently empty. So starting next year, Denver's going to go to 4 days a week trash pickup, and most people in the city are going to see their trash day change. These consolidated routes run Monday through Thursday. If you have a big TV and good eyes, maybe you can spot your neighborhood. Monday's in blue, Tuesday gold, Wednesday red, Thursday purple. Congratulations to everybody who gets Monday as their trash day. We're going to miss it at our house. It's nice to take it out on Sunday nights. We've posted this map on 9news.com. If you type trash in the search bar, you'll get this map and most of my reporting. Veterans Day is tomorrow, and our Word of Thanks microgiving project this week is going to help veterans in Denver complete a community center that they've been building themselves to save money. Each Word of Thanks donation gets the veterans of VFW Post 1 closer to completing that space that they're building for fellow veterans and the community. If you're not familiar with the oldest VFW post in America, they've kind of ditched the VFW as local watering hole model, and they're remodeling a community center space that's open to all veterans with entrepreneurship training, exercise classes, therapy, and peer support, and a large veterans art program. And they're also expanding a free community space that's open to non-veteran groups. The veterans of Post 1 have been doing a lot of the renovation work themselves to save money, and they're close to finishing their project. I love the idea of a VFW that's open to all veterans and with the goal of welcoming the whole community into that shared space. And I respect that they're doing a lot of the work themselves to save money. A Post leader told me that they had a 73-year-old Vietnam-era Marine doing hours of demo work up on scaffolding the other day. He said, "Veterans get it done." Yes, they do. Oh, happy 246th birthday to the United States Marine Corps today. Let's help Post 1 get it done so they can open this beautiful space for veterans and for the community. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 and I'll send you that link to donate. As always, I'll match the first 50 donations of $5. This is a small Veterans Day thank you to those who have served and are still looking to give back with a renovated Veterans Center and community space in Denver.
There are some people who just want to find ways of engaging themselves in communities that they would sometimes think, I shouldn't be here.
An uncomfortable and necessary conversation about race. A church offers space for people of all backgrounds to sit down and talk. Next. People know how to talk. We don't always know how to communicate, especially when discussing race. Talking about race respectfully is the goal of Dinner and Dialogue every Tuesday night at Trinity United Methodist in Denver. Our Katie Eastman pulled up a seat.
Some conversations are easier than others.
Fried plantains?
But it's the tough ones that bring people closer.
There you go.
Everyone in the basement of Trinity United Methodist Church is here to talk about the hard stuff.
And one of our hopes and prayers is this experience becomes a movement.
Around each table,
I'm going to get us started.
people with different shades of skin purposefully sit.
Any takeaways from...
In room 128 at table 5, there's a Denver police sergeant, a fly fisherman, a minister, a musician, moms and dads.
And we're so lively, that's why they put us back here. But we're just deeply connected.
They were all strangers 5 weeks ago. Asking deep questions changed that.
I'm always on guard when we go to restaurants, especially when they tell me, we're going to take you to this table right here, and it's the table in the back. That burns me up. Or by the, it burns me up.
We're constantly being re-traumatized, you know? Yeah, pretty much. You know, maybe we're not getting cut as deep, you know, as we used to, but we're still getting those micro cuts, and sometimes those micro cuts, they hurt just as hard as one punch.
The stories pour out.
But he was like, I need to give you a warning because we have been judged for racial profiling.
You know it's not right. You don't say anything. Women, we're used to this. Someone says something inappropriate or, you know, a little sleazy or a little creepy or what have you. You just kind of like, you know, you really don't vocalize, you really don't speak up.
White people have an obligation to speak up in the situations when, you know, you're seeing this stuff. We have to call it out. We have to.
None of these people would have met in their own life bubbles.
It makes no sense.
That's the point of this intentional dialogue.
Being comfortable, that doesn't accomplish anything. It has to get really, really uncomfortable, I think.
This is the last night. Table 5 will sit in this room together.
My fear is just for my grandkids.
You know, if you have to fight every day, even if you win, you're gonna be hurt, even if you win. So I'm scared that we won't fix it, Kathy. That's what I'm scared of. I'm scared it won't stop.
It might be the end of deep conversations in a church basement.
We are going to continue.
But talking about the tough stuff,
We'll do a few.
created a connection.
Five Alive.
That will last.
And these conversations, they weren't just haphazard. They are based on the Department of Justice Community Relations Dialogue on Race program. It's been around for a while. Anyone can download the template. Dr. Alphonse Keesley, a retired CU Boulder Vice Chancellor of Diversity, Equity, and Community Engagement, brought the program to Trinity. Kyle, he hopes more groups in Denver use it and are able to make these meaningful connections.
You could start the next discussion with what she said. I wrote it down. If you have to fight every day, even if you win, you're going to be hurt. Why did they decide to take this step, do this?
Yeah, well, Trinity's a predominantly white church, and after George Floyd died, they thought, we have to do something. We have to learn to become anti-racist. So it started with weekly meetings about that. This was the next step.
Appreciate you taking us there. Thank you, Katie. Republicans have a new chance to get rid of Colorado's red flag gun control law, and it's because of the way that Democrats rushed it through. And some hard numbers on what President Biden's infrastructure plan means for Colorado's roads, bridges, public transit, water systems, and fire mitigation. It's a lot, and it's next. Quick correction, DPS students are all getting Friday, November 19th off due to the substitute teacher shortage. That's what we said. That, of course, is not the day after Thanksgiving. As I said, I'm just very glad that our viewer Anthony caught that before I made a turkey next Thursday.
Windy and warm along the Front Range today. Highs near 60 with gusty winds to 60 miles per hour. The pressure gradient is easing tonight, so the winds are starting to subside a bit. This storm tracking off to the east may produce severe weather from Minneapolis, Omaha down to Kansas City and Wichita. Wraparound moisture pulling in cold air, so scattered snow showers continue in the mountains. Winter weather and travel advisories have canceled out, and there may be enough moisture for an isolated shower on the eastern plains tomorrow. Fair skies, decreasing wind tonight, low 29. Sunny, 56 tomorrow, a stray shower possible. Low 50s Friday, 60s for the weekend, and low 70s next week. Not a lot of snow in that forecast for Denver this week.
Republicans have another chance to overturn Colorado's red flag gun control law, and it's based on a technicality. Red flag law allows the court to temporarily take someone's guns if they're deemed to be a threat to themselves or others. In 2019, Republican state legislators and the gun rights group Rocky Mountain Gun Owners sued over that law. They didn't sue because of what it does. They sued because of how it passed. 2 Republican legislators at the time had asked for the bill to be read out loud in full during one of the debates. The Democrats who control the House didn't do it. A lower court said as a political fight, not something for the courts. Today, though, the higher appeals court disagreed. It's the second time that an issue about reading a bill at length out loud has ended up in court. In March, the state Supreme Court ruled that Democrats in the state Senate should not have used computers to speed read bills aloud. Because of that decision, this red flag challenge is heading back to court. If a judge decides the red flag bill should have been read aloud and wasn't, that gun law could come off the books. So we're getting a better idea about the billions of taxpayer dollars that are headed for Colorado through President Biden's $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill that was passed by Congress last week. Colorado's delegation voted on party lines, Republicans against it, Democrats in favor. Here's what we know it's going to mean for Colorado. According to MSU Denver political science professor Robert Preuss, Colorado can expect about $3.7 billion for road projects, $225 million for bridge replacement, and then $900 million to improve public transportation options around the state. For public transit, that's big. It's almost double the current 10-year budget. There's also money coming in to expand the electric vehicle network in Colorado, $57 million over 5 years, and $432 million to improve Colorado's airports. Infrastructure, as defined by the plan, also includes $35 million over 5 years for wildfire mitigation and protection, and $688 million over 5 years to improve drinking water infrastructure. Professor Preuss views it as a potential cost savings for individual Coloradans.
It's been estimated that over $650 is spent per Coloradan just in terms of dealing with congestion because we use more gas when we're sitting on the highway, but also in terms of vehicle damage due to poor roads and potholes.
So let's look next at who decides where all of that money gets spent. Price says the road monies can be divvied up by the legislature's Transportation Committee, which oversees CDOT. It says it's likely most of the road and bridge funds are going to go towards projects that have already been put on the calendar. Transportation Committee would also direct the public transit funds and the money for the electric vehicle network. Water infrastructure money would be guided by local governments and the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation, and the fire prevention cash would be allocated by the Forest Service and the BLM. There are veterans in Denver working hard to build something for themselves, each other, for their whole community. And our Word of Thanks project this week is going to help them get it done. That and your feedback next. We've taken you inside VFW Post 1 in Denver over the years to show you their unique model. It's not a bar, not a smoke-filled room. It's a community center that's open to all veterans. And the vets of Post 1 are coming up on the end of a long and hard fundraising process so that they can renovate their building and they can expand a community space that's open to all kinds of groups, non-veterans included. They're doing a lot of this remodel work themselves to save money. So I was thinking this Veterans Day week, we could help them get it finished. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 and I'll send you that link to join me and a bunch of other people in giving to help them finish their project. These veterans are building something that is unique for themselves, for each other, and for the wider community as well. And it's kind of an honor that we get to help out with this process. There's a picture of their Veterans Art Gallery there at the end, which is one of the really interesting projects that they've got there at Post 1. That space will be expanded with their renovation. Heard from Michelle Davis, who wrote in tonight saying that these VFW projects are not eligible for government funds, so it's especially important that the community supports this and other projects around the state. And I just got a text from one of the Post leaders that says in about 10 minutes, you all have come through for $10,000. That's astonishing.